The sea that looks calm often hides dangers that can't be seen from the surface. Sometimes the threat comes from the darkness beneath the water, and sometimes it actually comes from the humans standing right next to us. What started as just a normal expedition slowly turns into a nightmare in the middle of the vast ocean. With nowhere to run, they have to face two threats at once: deadly predators beneath the sea, and someone far more dangerous on the ship.
What are you going to do about it, Greg?
Near a boat in the middle of the ocean, a warm scene can be seen from a small family enjoying time together by the shore. The sea breeze blows gently and the waves sound calm, while a little girl named Cassidy plays in the water while laughing with her father. That simple moment feels so peaceful, as if nothing could possibly ruin it. But the atmosphere suddenly changes when something in the water bumps into her leg quite hard. In an innocent tone, Cassidy turns to her father and asks, "Are you kicking me?" Without realizing that the small incident will become the beginning of a long trauma that will haunt her for years. "20 years later, Cassidy has grown into an adult woman. Even though her life keeps moving forward, the shadow of her childhood never truly disappears from her mind. The emotional wound left from that day still lingers, as if the sea always holds memories that are hard for her to forget. Even so, her life now looks fairly stable. Cassidy has just married Greg, an intelligent man who works as a conservator at a well-known museum in London. Greg's job is related to historical objects. He is responsible for tracing the origins of artifacts, confirming their authenticity, and preserving them so their value remains intact. One day, Greg receives a big opportunity. He is asked to investigate fragments of ancient gold believed to have sunk along with a historic warship at the bottom of the sea. Information about the location of the shipwreck is very limited and tightly guarded by the government, so the mission must be carried out carefully. To help with the search, Greg contacts an old acquaintance, Captain Benz, an experienced sailor who knows the ocean very well. When they meet, it turns out Benz does not come alone. He brings two of his colleagues, Lily and Pierre, a young couple who are also willing to help with the expedition. At first, Greg is quite surprised to see extra people in the team, but for the sake of the mission running smoothly, he eventually agrees to their presence.
Well, looks like it's going to be a party.
Not long after that, they all board a small sailing boat. The boat is chosen because it is simpler and not too noticeable, so their movements at sea won't attract attention. A long-haired crew member helps prepare various equipment before the boat slowly leaves the dock. The journey at sea looks calm, but inside Cassidy's heart, the feelings she has been trying to suppress begin to resurface. She stays silent in Greg's arms while her mind drifts back to the past. After the tragic event that took her father's life, Cassidy grows up with her mother and grandfather. Her grandfather is an oceanographer who dedicated his life to studying the sea. From him, Cassidy slowly learns to understand the underwater world. She begins to see the ocean not only as a source of fear, but also as a place full of knowledge and mystery. Little by little, she tries to make peace with her past.
Can't stop thinking about it.
But without them realizing it, in a part of the sea not too far from their sailing route, an illegal transaction is taking place. A group of drug mafia meet in the middle of the ocean to carry out their dark business. The deal suddenly turns chaotic. The tension rises and a shootout becomes unavoidable. The sea that looks calm actually hides threats coming from many directions. Meanwhile, the boat carrying Cassidy and the team finally arrives at the coordinates they were heading to. They immediately prepare to dive. Not too deep on the seabed, they find the wreck of an old warship that has been sunk for a long time. The fragile frame of the ship stands silently in the deep blue darkness, like a silent witness to history that has long passed. Among the debris, Greg and Cassidy finally find one of the gold fragments that is the target of their search. But before they can continue the search, a large shadow suddenly moves between the ship's frame. A shark emerges from the darkness, breaking the calm of the deep sea in an instant. The situation immediately becomes tense. They try to stay calm while hiding behind the ship's frame so they don't attract the predator's attention. After a while, the shark seems to move away, and Lily and Pierre decide to go up to the surface first, but when they start moving, the shark suddenly returns and attacks Pierre very brutally. The seawater instantly turns red, and panic immediately spreads. In the middle of the chaos, they struggle as hard as they can to get back to the boat. Pierre is successfully brought up, but the injuries he suffers are very severe. He loses a lot of blood, and his condition looks extremely critical. Seeing this, Benz immediately makes a decision. They can't stay at sea any longer, and must find medical help as soon as possible. Not long after, a luxury yacht is seen passing in the distance. In the middle of the increasingly urgent situation, the appearance of the ship feels like a glimmer of hope. Benz immediately signals for help and tries to explain their situation to the owner of the ship.
Oh, yeah? What kind
By a shark, he's injured pretty bad.
The owner of the ship is a man named Jordan. He welcomes them with a slight smile and a relaxed attitude. At first glance, nothing seems strange, but there is something in the way Jordan and his crew look at Greg's group that feels suspicious. Without them realizing it, the yacht is actually not clean from illegal activities at sea. In a short conversation, Jordan briefly mentions the presence of sharks around the area. He suspects the change in sea temperature might have caused the predators to move to a new area. But the conversation doesn't last long because Pierre's condition keeps getting worse. Not long after, Pierre finally takes his last breath. Lily's crying breaks out on the deck of the ship. The atmosphere turns silent and heavy. Cassidy herself is reminded again of the past she has been trying to forget, about how the sea once took away someone she loved. Meanwhile, Jordan's attention begins to focus on the diving equipment brought by Greg and his team. He observes it more carefully, and from there suspicion begins to grow that this group is actually hiding something. When Benz begs them to take them to land immediately to find help, Jordan refuses in a polite but firm way. That answer makes the atmosphere even more uncomfortable. Now their situation is far more complicated. They are trapped in the middle of the vast ocean, with the threat of sharks roaming beneath the surface of the water, and another danger that is just as frightening actually on the ship they are on. Not long after, Jordan's true attitude finally becomes clear. He never intended to help them. His real goal is to retrieve a package of drugs that he hid on the seabed, right below their ship's route. As soon as he sees Greg's diving equipment, Jordan immediately considers it the perfect solution. He doesn't want to risk his own crew if there really are great white sharks in the area. So, with the threat of a weapon, Jordan forces Benz's group to help retrieve the package from the bottom of the sea.
a flag with an underwater track. So I got an expert.
Cassidy, who has learned a lot about the ocean from her grandfather since she was young, actually understands situations like this quite well. She knows how to read the currents, recognize predator movements, and understand when to move or stay still underwater. In the end, Cassidy volunteers to go down. The problem is, Ben's iron cage is only a standard protection for diving. The equipment is not designed to carry heavy loads. The hoisting rope is thin, and the frame also has limited strength. But for Jordan, none of that matters. There is only one thing he wants: his goods back. Before diving, Cassidy holds Greg's hand and tries to calm him. She tries to look confident. Deep inside, Cassidy feels that this is also another chance. A chance to face the fear that has been haunting her all this time. If she can get through this, maybe she can truly make peace with the sea.
You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Breathe, you give your... That's it, you have to conquer.
When the cage begins to descend to the seabed, the silhouettes of several great white sharks can be seen slowly passing in the distance. The water feels much colder, and the atmosphere down there is very quiet. Cassidy carefully comes out of the cage. She moves slowly to tie the package to the iron frame. Just as her work is almost finished, one of the rope knots gets stuck. Cassidy is forced to pull and shake the iron frame quite hard, so the rope comes loose. The vibration apparently attracts attention. A shark starts circling closer. Seeing the situation, Captain Benz immediately signals for Cassidy to be pulled up. The cage slowly begins to rise toward the surface, but before reaching halfway, one of the sharks suddenly lunges and bites the hoisting rope. As a result, One of the packages comes loose and slides back down to the seabed, while the shark immediately chases it. When Cassidy finally reaches the deck, Jordan's crew immediately check what she brought up. When he realizes the number of packages doesn't match, Jordan's face instantly turns dark. His anger explodes immediately. Chaos breaks out. Greg tries to fight back by grabbing a pistol, but his attempt fails, and he falls into the sea instead. In the middle of the chaos, a shark, attracted by the blood, attacks one of Jordan's crew members, who also falls into the water. Greg uses that moment to swim away. After struggling for a while, Greg finally finds an empty boat floating not far from there. The boat turns out to be left over from another group that Jordan had previously shot at when their transaction failed. Meanwhile, on the main ship, the atmosphere becomes even more tense. Jordan starts intimidating everyone on board again, but this time, Cassidy takes a bold step. She shows the ancient gold fragment she previously found in the wreck of the warship. Cassidy offers the gold as a replacement for the lost package. If Jordan still feels the amount isn't enough, Cassidy is willing to go down again to take more from the seabed. Jordan's greed is immediately triggered. Without thinking much, he orders the ship to change course and bring them back closer to the location of the warship wreck. On the other side, Greg, drifting on the small boat, finally finds an emergency radio. Without wasting time, he tries to send a distress signal. Shortly after, a coastal police patrol boat can be seen approaching Jordan's ship.
Come off in any way. You and your friend. What I said.
When Jordan sees them arriving, he immediately acts as if everything is fine. With a calm and confident face, he greets the officers. To cover up the real situation, he even forces Cassidy to pretend to be his girlfriend, so it looks like a normal trip at sea. When the police ask for the ship's documents, Jordan says the documents are inside the cabin. Jordan walks inside as if he is about to get them, but his crew instead kill all the police officers. Driven by his greed, Jordan orders Cassidy to dive again, this time with Lily. For him, 2 divers mean a bigger chance to bring up the gold before the situation gets worse. Meanwhile, Greg starts getting suspicious when he no longer receives any response from the radio. He finally decides to swim toward the ship quietly to find out what is really happening. On the deck, Captain Benz is trying to help the long-haired crew member who was hit by a stray bullet. Jordan, not wanting the trouble, kills him instead.
Just drink a little bit. Dude, there should be. Not even your word is worth shit. It's not personal.
That action makes Benz furious. He immediately attacks Jordan and runs toward the ship's control room. One of Jordan's crew chases him, but ends up getting shot by Benz in return. His body falls into the sea and is eaten by sharks. Underwater, Cassidy and Lily briefly hear the sound of impacts and faint shouting from the ship above. Lily starts to panic. She chooses to swim away without caring about Jordan's orders anymore. From the ship, Jordan shouts that without his ship no one can get back to land, especially since Benz's previous ship has already been badly damaged from the shootout. Meanwhile, Lily keeps swimming in panic. In the distance, a shark begins approaching her. Cassidy tries to signal for Lily to stay calm and not move too much, but fear makes Lily move more and more uncontrollably. In an instant, the shark attacks her. The seawater turns red again. Now only Cassidy is left down there. Cassidy knows moving quickly will only trigger the shark's hunting instinct, but staying still too long is also dangerous. She tries to remember the lessons her grandfather once taught her about reading the behavior of ocean predators. Cassidy calms herself, controls her breathing, and keeps her body upright without showing panic. For a few seconds that feel very long, the shark only circles around her. When she sees an opening, Cassidy immediately moves up toward the surface before the situation changes. At almost the same time, Greg finally manages to reach the ship. He tries to find a way to save Cassidy from the increasingly dangerous situation. Jordan, seeing Cassidy return without bringing additional gold, starts losing his patience. His anger becomes even more obvious. When Cassidy realizes several bodies are already lying lifeless on the deck, Jordan coldly says that Captain Benz will be next if no one follows his orders. Now the threat is not only coming from the sharks lurking beneath the sea, but also from human greed that is far more dangerous on the ship. One by one, Jordan's crew finally fall. The body of the last person still loyal to him is now lifeless as well. Jordan now stands alone on the messy deck. The sea wind blows past bloodstains and scattered bullet shell. For the first time, Jordan no longer has protection from his crew. Greg, who has already returned to the ship, stares at him with anger that is hard to hide. All the chaos that happened in the sea started from the same person, Jordan. Greg demands an explanation, not just about the drugs or the gold, but about why all of them had to be trapped in his crazy plan. Cornered and losing control, Jordan tries to change the situation. With his body shaking from the gunshot wound that keeps bleeding, Jordan begins speaking in a calmer tone. He suggests that they leave Benz's ship, which is already badly damaged, and move to his ship that can still be used. The fire that has started in several parts of the old ship becomes a reason to leave immediately. But the wound on his body isn't his only problem. Panic begins to take over his mind. To calm himself, Jordan uses the illegal substance he usually consumes again. Instead of helping him think clearly, his emotions become even more unstable. His pride, shattered after being defeated by Greg and Cassidy, makes him lose control even more. In a mix of pain, anger, and the influence of the substance controlling his mind, Jordan slowly walks backward until he reaches the edge of the ship. Without saying much, Cassidy, who is already furious, pushes Jordan into the sea. The great white sharks that have been circling the ship finally find a new prey. In an instant, the sea closes Jordan's story forever. Meanwhile, the fire on the ship grows bigger. In the middle of the thick smoke, Captain Benz turns out to still be alive. In the end, Greg, Cassidy, and Benz survive the predators and the threat of a madman. For Greg, Cassidy, and Benz, the sea no longer looks like just a beautiful blue expanse. That place has become a witness to how greed, fear, and courage collided, leaving an experience they will never forget.